Hey everyone, welcome to the Christmas season, the holiday season. It is that time of year where we get all of our baking supplies out and we try and make so many different festive things. And I am starting by getting my cookie baking prepared so that I don't have to do it all at one time. This last week, I got together with a friend. I had plans, great plans, of trying to do about 3 cookies. I was going to prepare them, and then, 3 different kinds of cookies. I was going to prepare them, and then I would go ahead and put them in the freezer so that I could just take them out later, which is seriously a wonderful idea. If you do this, you're very smart because it really helps things go more smoothly. That day, my brain was not working as well as I had hoped it would. Is that 4?
The 4 is being measured.
I think that was 4. Okay, let me count this. 5. This is why you don't talk while you are counting. And I did things a lot slower than I had planned, and so I only got 1 cookie dough finished, but it turned out fine because I was able to do more I believe it was the next day. I got back to it and I did more. But today I just wanted to bring you along with me as I'm making the cookie dough. I have 2 new recipes to share with you today. I'm making the ginger snap cookies out of einkorn flour, which you can find that recipe on the blog. I'm also making an einkorn sugar cookie. I do a little bit of lemon flavoring in this one, but that is totally optional. You can do it without the lemon flavoring, absolutely fine. And I am also doing a snowball cookie. Other names for this cookie are the Russian tea cakes, Mexican wedding cakes. There's several different names, so whatever you want to call it. But for the sake of today, I will call it a snowball cookie. And I am sorry that this got out a little bit later than I had planned. I was hoping it would come out right after Thanksgiving, but my microphone had issues, and I ended up having to just trash all of the recordings that I had done earlier, which was really annoying, but I am back and I'm getting the recording done, so hopefully you can hear me okay in this recording. So I started out by making the ginger snap cookies. In this recipe, I usually use maple syrup because it calls for some kind of a liquid along with the brown sugar. I did not happen to have maple syrup on this day, and so my friend who was also baking with me, she was doing her own gingerbread cookies. She let me borrow some of her molasses and I combined it with some honey. Molasses isn't really my favorite as far as sweeteners go, so I combined it with some honey, and then I put that together and added that instead of the maple syrup. That turned out just fine. So know that if you are going to exchange sweeteners, make sure that you are exchanging the liquids for a liquid. So like if it's a honey, you want to exchange it with another liquid like maple syrup. If it is a cane sugar, don't try to exchange it with maple syrup. You could do a maple sugar that's been dehydrated, but it's just not going to turn out quite the same. So in the middle of this, the kids needed a snack, and so I had to stop, and I went ahead and cut them some apples. But this is the point of what I'm doing, is to prepare things for later. And so being slowed down a little bit today wasn't a huge deal, because I know that if these are ready and in the freezer, I can take them out to thaw later on in the month. Yes, the month will get crazier as we go along, right? And I can take them out and get them thawed out, and then I can just put them in the oven, and it'll be super easy at that point. So getting back to work, I went ahead and I put this dough into a log shape. I rolled it up in parchment, and then I covered that parchment with plastic wrap. I did things a little bit differently with the cookie doughs so that you could see that you don't always have to wrap them up in the exact same way. As you'll see later, I will wrap up the snowball cookies a little bit different than I did with the ginger snap cookies. And it also depends on if you're doing a cookie that you can just cut and put onto the pan, That makes a big difference too. But all of the cookies that I'm doing today are cookies that I will shape into a ball, or I'm going to roll out, so I can't just cut them and bake them. This ginger snap cookie recipe, as well as so many other recipes such as the sourdough cinnamon rolls, the flaky pie crust recipe, and chicken pot pie, different soup recipes, as well as a garlic herb bread recipe, waffles, all of these different cozy wintertime recipes can be found in my ebook, Einkorn for a Cozy Winter, and this ebook is out now. It's the only time of the year that I put this ebook out. And so you can look at the link below if you want to go and check it out, look at what's inside, get an idea of if this would truly help your kitchen during the winter time, and I hope it will. I've put it together hoping that these are recipes that you will be able to use often and that your family will love. So the next cookie that I am doing is the snowball cookie. These are some of my favorite cookies. I might say that these are actually my favorite Christmas cookies. I have very fond memories of being a kid and going into the kitchen and eating these cookies after my mother has rolled them in the powdered sugar, and then having to have another and another. And that buttery taste with the nuts in it and the powdered sugar on top, it was so addictive. I just love the buttery flavor of these. So I had to figure out how to make this recipe into an einkorn recipe. And you can also find this recipe on the blog and print it out so you can have it in front of you. Remember, you can do that with any of these recipes today. Just go to Hilltop in the Valley and you can print these recipes out. So making these snowball cookies, I don't actually have the walnuts or the pecans that I'm supposed to have. I know, I was not prepared. But I did have macadamia nuts, and so I decided I'll try something different this year and put some macadamia nuts in. And I loved it. I loved the result. Of course, I am someone who loves macadamia nuts, but I really do love when you combine macadamia nuts with a creamy flavor that is buttery. I really liked how these flavors went together. So maybe you call this one more of a Pacific snowball cookie. Something like that, South Pacific snowball cookie. Actually shaped this cookie dough into a disc shape in order to freeze it, a little bit different than the log shape. If you decide to shape your cookies into a disc shape or a log shape, one of the things you have to keep in mind is that you want to not have too much dough in that shape. You want it to be small enough so that it will thaw easily. So if you're doubling the recipe, make sure you make a couple of different mounds of the dough, a couple different discs or a couple different logs. That way, when you take them out of the freezer and thaw them, they will thaw quickly for you and be ready to go. When the day comes to bake the snowball cookies, go ahead and take them out of the freezer the night before and then let them thaw in the refrigerator. And then after they have thawed, you can put them into the oven for about 10 to 12 minutes at 400 degrees. And then after taking them out, you're going to let them completely cool. And once they're cooled off, you can roll them in powdered sugar, or you could double roll them in powdered sugar, whichever sounds best to you. And then they are finished, they are ready to go. And believe me, these ones do not last long. Now perhaps you remember that when I bake my sourdough bread, I have never really used any special equipment. I've always used just a glass bowl or something a little bit smaller. I've used wire baskets before to rise my bread, but Let me tell you, I have started using a proofing basket. This one is from Breadtopia, and I have fallen in love. I don't think I will ever be scraping dough out of my glass bowl ever again, because this proofing basket is wonderful. The way that the dough will not stick to it as you're flouring it before putting it in, it just pops right out and it holds its shape well so that it will bake into a beautiful loaf. I got my proofing basket from Cooey Households, and I am so liking this small family company. Cooey Housewares is offering Hilltop in the Valley viewers and readers 10% off of your order. You can click the link below and it'll be added automatically, or you can go to Cooey Housewares and add Hilltop in the Valley at checkout to get the discount. I will put the proofing basket link below so you can see where that is as well, and go check them out. Last but definitely not least is the sugar cookies. These are probably the most important cookie to the kids because they get to decorate these ones. And while this is one of the best traditions, I think, in a family to be able to just decorate cookies with kids, it can also be the hardest if you try and do it all day. You're making the cookies and then you have to chill the dough for a couple hours, and then you have to cut out the cookies, roll the dough and cut them out, and that takes time, and then you bake them, and then you have to cool it off, and then you can frost it and decorate it, and that's a whole day task. And that's what it feels like, is a task. But I like things to not feel as much like a task as just an enjoyable event that we're doing together. And so making these in advance for me is extremely important if I want to have that time with my kids. And so today I did try baking a few myself. I did not follow directions and chill the dough. That was bad. Make sure you chill the dough for a couple hours before you decide to roll out and cut. That's very important for making sure that they will remain firm in the oven. They weren't too bad for me, but I really do recommend that. I did notice that they did soften up around the edges a little bit. Also, I used a little bit of lemon in my cookie dough. I just used lemon oil, like an essential oil. You could use amaretto for this. You could use orange. You could use orange and amaretto. That would be really good. You don't have to use any flavoring at all. It can just be flavored from the butter and that little bit of nutty flavor that you get from the einkorn flour. That is great too. But I went ahead and I cooked these and I frosted them. They turned out wonderfully. And so I really do recommend that if you are planning on doing this with kids, make it in advance. This is a great one to do in advance. If you do any of them, definitely do this one in advance. But it is so fun to have homemade sugar cookies during the Christmas season. Remember that this ginger snap recipe is also filmed in another video from last year, and you can go and watch that video and see a little bit more about how I made this recipe, and you can also go print it out as well. If you are looking for other things to do for the holiday season, I have a great recipe for chai tea that you make in the Instant Pot. It's really pretty simple and pretty fast, and it was a favorite last year of ours. I would like to bring it back in this year. It is so cozy and so warming. And I look forward to the next couple of weeks when we're gonna have so much more for you guys. So stay tuned, because I'm gonna have some other amazing Christmas recipes and inspiration for you. If you are new here, please subscribe to the channel. And if you have enjoyed this video, would you do me a favor and click on one of the other videos from this channel? That helps YouTube to see that people are watching it, and it encourages YouTube to show it to more people as well. So thank you guys for joining me. Hope you are having a wonderful beginning to your holiday season, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye. Is that the word for it? Shoot. Go away.